Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Monster Hunter Wilds, man, has been in the news for at least the last few days that I've seen on X, and it has been for a positive reason. Now that came out early this year, and I streamed it quite a bit on my channel. I played it with my wife. The wife and I really liked it. It was our very first Monster Hunter Wild, well, very first Monster Hunter game that we've ever played. So we don't have anything to compare it against. But a lot of people who seem to have that ability to compare to, say, Worlds or Rise or any of the other Monster Hunter games that came out prior to Wilds, they have issues with it. And so I kind of wanted to watch this video by Rage Gaming Videos to see what he's got to say and potentially look at some tweets from Rurikon. I know he's a big Monster Hunter fan, and some of the quote tweets based off of his tweet. We'll see if we get to it. We'll have to, depends on the time. So let's go ahead and get in the video and let's see what Rage Gaming Videos has to say.
Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and today some Wilds discussion. If you haven't noticed yet, in the last day or so, the game has received this insane negative review bomb on Steam. However, the review situation has...
I noticed that, and I'm not entirely certain what's going on. So full transparency, I haven't played the game since right before they released the patch at the beginning of April. I ended up going to Japan. I didn't get a chance to play it, and I haven't picked it back up because I've been playing other games. Up until that point, I didn't have a problem with the game. The only thing I was aware of was that it had issues running on like older computer platforms, basically. Older PCs couldn't play this game. That's as far as I'm aware. So we'll see if there's more that's come to light.
Has been trending downwards for the last couple of weeks, largely since the May update. Recent reviews says overwhelmingly negative. An insane 18% of the 9K reviews in the last 30 days have actually been positive. So that's 82% of those reviews negative. What has happened? We're not the only ones to notice. Capcom themselves have put this little pop-up when you're in the main menu of the game requesting feedback and directs you to a page where you can go through a form to provide some direct feelings. It's clear they're aware of the situation and want to get an accurate gauge of why and what, which is a good sign. Let's get to the point though and address the meat of the topic. Wilds doesn't deserve an 82% negative review score as a game. And we're going to talk about that aspect of the...
I don't know. If the game doesn't deserve it, then the game wouldn't have it. That's all I'm saying. Something is going on that all these people are extremely pissed off at Capcom about. And this rating is the only way they seem to be able to provide any sort of valuable feedback to Capcom. So I praise Capcom for putting this pop-up in the game. But look, if the game didn't deserve this rating, it wouldn't have it. I'm sorry. You may not agree with why the rating exists or why people are giving it that rating, but if the rating exists, then it's most likely deserved.
Content and the game itself shortly. But there is a part of this that does deserve this response and outcry. And in my opinion, some kind of backlash in response to the recent increased performance issues is more than warranted. It's no secret that Wilds has had performance issues since the first beta, where they then made it a bigger priority for the final stage of development. At least that's what they put across. I felt there was a noticeable improvement from the beta to launch version, but since then, there's been gradual changes, minor improvements to the state of things. That's been my experience.
I play on a 4090 of a pretty new PC. I got it at the beginning of this year. So, or no, I'm sorry, in June of last year. So I didn't notice any performance issues. But if there's a lot of people who played Worlds and they can't play this game because it won't run smoothly on their computer, I understand why they're pissed off about it. I really do.
Experience with a solid rig, but also with my girlfriend and her much worse rig by comparison. There is sentiment though that it's only been getting worse and worse over time, and that hasn't been my experience or people that I know. Still, has the game been optimized and well functioning?
Why would it be getting worse? Is it just compounding on top of each other as they add more crap to the game? And if that's the case, does that mean it's going to be much harder for them to fix as they release more and more content for the game? Okay.
Functional during any of this? Definitely not. I don't know about you, but every time I go to open Wilds, since the game's launch, by the way, there's been such a long wait for the game to actually open. It feels like it takes somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, and every time I've looked into the issue of this, the reasons always come back to Denuvo. Apparently it's DR.
I'm going to have to boot this game back up again. I don't recall having that issue when I last played the game. It booted up fairly fine for me. I don't recall having it taking any longer amount of time to boot up than any other game to the point where I felt that there was an issue. So that's 5 to 10 minutes. Holy shit. I'm gonna have to boot that. You know what? Let me see if I have it. Let me see if I have it. Still downloaded. I do not. I'm gonna download it right now and I'm going to boot this thing up later today. I want to see. I want to see if it takes me. Well, it may, because I haven't booted it. Well, the shaders thing may take a bit, but we'll see if it takes that long to boot the game up. Because my word,
RM with the purpose of making things harder to mod, cheat, pirate the game, that kind of thing. I don't pretend to know a lot about this, but there's a lot of discussion around the topic of wilds, despite the fact that
I know there were a lot of mods people were using to kind of cheat with drops and whatnot. I don't know if it's gotten worse because they've done things to try to make that impossible. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe they've added to it since I last played the game.
Capcom have been using this for years. Despite the fact that this claims it's caused issues in a couple of games, but then been resolved, I think it's easy for someone like me and most people who might vaguely understand the topic, hear that causes issues, and that's why the game takes ages to open up, for example, or runs worse.
I've never played a game that had Denova that had issues. That I've no, but I'm not a computer geek, so maybe I'm just not realizing that there's an issue. But I know there's people out there who won't buy a game just because it's got Denova. But I'm not one of them. I bought Stellar Blade. I bought Monster Hunter Wilds, which also has Denova. I've not noticed Denova being an issue.
Worse, and then just take that at face value. I don't know what it is that causes these long load-up times, but I do know that these long load-up times have been the case for me since I played the early version before launch.
Really?
Certainly before any mods are involved. Do I think the long load-up times...
What's his spec? That's what I want to know. What's your PC spec? What's your RAM? What's your CPU? What's your video card? That's what I want to know. I would love to compare mine to his, because I didn't have that issue before, I stopped playing because of other games.
The reason the game's getting review bombed, not specifically, but I do think it contributes. So what's actually happened in the last couple of weeks to cause it? It would more than likely be the shaders issue that appeared with the May patch. Ever since that patch, my game has had noticeable frame drops and stutters, and I can feel that it performs worse at a constant subtle level.
So it is something new. Okay. It's something that just recently happened with the patch. See, I haven't played it since then. So I'm going to boot this up. I'm going to play it for a little bit. Lord knows I'm going to be rusty as hell. We'll probably die and suck at the game. But I need to see if this is continuing to happen with me, because I haven't noticed any performance issues. I think it's crashed a time or two, but that's rare. But that happens with other games. I've had that happen with other games too. So, I mean, I'm not going to hold it against Monster Hunter Wilds specifically. I mean, it happens. It's software.
I have a rig that has no issues playing any games that I play except for Wilds at the moment. So that's undeniably a step backwards for performance, even.
Give me your rig spec. Give me the spec of your rigs.
For me, but I would describe it as a sudden leap back rather than this gradual getting worse as people claim. Friends of mine have started to express issues they're irritated by it now, especially since this patch, reporting issues of low FPS
he's doing
at the start
dual
of the launch,
blades,
which actually clears up after an initial
that
period.
was so fun.
I'm having similar issues myself, and again, we're talking about rigs that are well beyond recommendation.
I played dual blades, insect glaive, and I eventually went to sword and shield. I tried larger weapons, man, but I couldn't. I'm too aggressive, and larger weapons are slow and they leave me open.
Recommended specs. Now imagine if you're running those recommended specs, or worse, then it's going to be a lot more of a problem. To me, this is what warrants some kind of negative response. One that will get the attention of devs and Capcom at large to make them aware that this is unacceptable, because that's true. The game should not be worse than where it began. It should be running better, not worse.
Agreed.
So how do you get their attention and make this clear to them? There's not many options. You either do something like stop playing the game, or you leave a negative review and feedback.
Right now, the biggest way for people to provide feedback is via a Steam review. Make that game go from emotionally positive to emotionally negative. Their next Monster Hunter game depends a lot on how successful and how well received Monster Hunter Wilds is. This game doesn't turn around and change people's opinions, then the next Monster Hunter game could very well, in fact, suffer because of the issues this game had.
With clear reasoning as to the problem. For me, that's the recent drop in performance on top of persistent issues of performance before any of that. And so it's an unfortunate side of Steam reviews. You basically have one or two, good or bad. And if you've had a bad experience recently, then your only option is bad. As a binary format, it hits the game overall rather than specifically about performance. And it feels like a tipping point where this sudden drop in performance has pushed a lot of people over the edge. I think that's reasonable.
I think a lot of people are already kind of on the edge based on the issues that the game had to begin with, that while I didn't see it, they most likely did. It could be performance issues on older PCs, the fact that you probably couldn't even run it on older PCs, and the fact that the game is a lot easier from what other people have told me compared to Worlds. So while it had a similar amount of content, you could burn through that content at a much faster pace than you could Worlds. So they would sit there twiddling their thumbs once they went through everything. So people were already, in my opinion, inclined to dislike this. And now that they started having more performance issues, worse than what it was when it was released, then that just pushed people over the edge. It just did.
So what's going on in the last few weeks? My base understanding is that shader compilation isn't working as intended. The game is compiling shaders while you're mid-running it, rather than preloading all of them before play. As stated by the official Monster Hunter status page, CPU load is spiking because of that, which is why it's more unstable. Based on my experience and a few of my friends, right, we know that it's a problem at the start of the hunt and then it eases up. I guess that's the shaders compiling at the start and then they're done and it works normal again. They've told us that you should delete your shader cache files with step-by-step instructions, which is great. There's some kind of solution here and clear instructions for that, but it's also very likely that players will never see that Twitter post or other places it's been.
I didn't even know it existed. I followed them on Twitter, but I didn't see it. There's so much shit on Twitter. Sometimes it's hard to see every individual post that an account you follow may actually put out there.
Shared or don't want to go through this weird process. I imagine a lot of people are just.
If you're using a NVIDIA GPU, please revert the settings in step 2 after you have finished deleting the shader cache. Revert settings for manage 3D settings. Select the global settings tab. Change shader cache size back to your original selection. The default setting is driver deep. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, they're doing full tech support via Twitter.
Just going to open the game, experience this really bad performance, and not think about it. They'd expect a patch to fix whatever that is, download that, and continue. But that hasn't been the case. The problem.
That's what any normal, non-PC, non-technical person is going to expect. That's what I would expect. I wouldn't want to have to go change all this crap on my PC. Fix your shit. That's what I want.
Is persisting for a lot of people. I put off doing that cache solution because I expected a fast patch myself. So, there must be a reason for that.
I'm not the only one.
At this point, I am concerned that Title Update 2 won't do what it needs to, which is largely resolve this current issue and improve performance to a noticeable degree. They've been very quiet about Title Update 2 so far, more than what we're used to. But yeah, that's performance and that's.
They probably know if anything they put out is just going to get bombarded with people complaining about the current issues. And he's right. They need to fix this sooner than later. This is going to hurt them down the road with their next game if they don't fix this. I mean, I've already seen a lot of people complain about Monster Hunter Wilds because it's not Worlds. It's different than World. It's easier than World. Or they say it didn't have the same level of monsters or the same challenge or whatever excuse these people wanted to say. And now you're throwing this on top of it. Let's see how many people's playing Monster Hunter Wilds right now. I don't know if this is good or not. 5,000, 13,000 peak, 5,000 right now, 1.3 all time. I was one of those. Let's compare that to Monster Hunter World. Wow. This surprises me a lot. And this is really bad for Capcom. Or who is it? Capcom? Is that who put out? Yeah, Capcom. This is really bad for Capcom. Monster Hunter World. This was released in 2018. I'm assuming on Steam, but was it released at the same time? I don't know if it was or not. I want to say it wasn't, but I don't know for certain. So take that with a grain of salt. But this was released 7 years ago. And it's got currently more people playing the game in the last 24 hours and more people playing it right now than Monster Hunter Wilds. That's bad. That says a lot about this game. It really does. Holy shit.
Situation, my thoughts about it. They deserve backlash for this situation. The performance issues in general for Wilds. This big problem the shader situation has caused. But is that all that's going on here? There has been the topic brought up by the creator Belluar, and also it's been discussed in the community a bit since then. Discussions from shareholders from a meeting Capcom had, posing questions like, where content volume? Why optimization issues? The same group that apparently pushed for a Q4 release rather than delaying the game further, which is just classic stuff, right? But a bigger.
Yeah, and I've heard about that. And so that's part of the problem that people seem to have with developers or publishers. And I agree that you have people making decisions, forcing decisions on these publishers to push things out, to make changes and to do things that make the game worse because they're worried about financial numbers. They want something to hit during a certain quarter to make it look good for the financial side of things for the company instead of doing things that are good for the game and good for the consumer. Making decisions that are not best for the consumer is never a good thing. I'm sorry. It's not. If you want to do something that benefits the company, sure, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make money for a company. That's how you stay in business. But you're also making products for your customer. If your decision that benefits you as a company doesn't also benefit the consumer, that's a problem. In my opinion, that's a problem.
The topic here is that, Wild is an unfinished game. That's what a lot of people are claiming. And I really disagree with that. We had everything the game needed except for Zoshia at launch and the hub. Zoshia, fair enough. We should have had that at launch. It was actually so weird not to be able to fight the.
I was really surprised that we didn't have that. I wanted to fight him again. It was a great fight. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't there.
Final boss again in high rank until Title Update 1. That was strange. On the other hand, yes, we didn't have the hub, but we did have an entirely new feature that filled its purpose in a really cool and new way, the base camps for each locale.
Yeah.
So I don't think that one's fair.
I didn't miss the hub. I didn't. Because I didn't know it existed in the first one. I thought it was perfectly fine with the way they did things.
And Title Update 1 wasn't long in the wait anyway. What about the rest of the game? We had the Artian weapon system from the beginning. We'd normally be waiting until Title Update 1 and then months later until Title Update 2, where you would then get a system like that, such as Kulve Taroth in Base World or Safi'jiiva in Iceborne. So we had the Tempered system and its progression, the relics, the RNG of the reinforcement, the Artian system as a whole, and we had direct improvements to this compared to all the versions of the system. Like, we didn't have RNG crafting, just reinforcement. You get the full resources back from a reinforcement.
Yeah,
we don't have
which was nice. That part was nice.
Have anything like the ridiculous, painful talisman RNG that was in Rise, and it's been reasonable to get the decorations we need in Wilds. In my opinion, this endgame has been clearly measured, considered, based on the past experience, and we've had it all from launch instead of waiting until title updates and beyond. Personally, I've got hundreds of hours in Wilds. It's been a great game. Title Update 1 felt like it came very quick.
Holy shit, this guy's whooping this thing's ass. I'd be getting my ass beat at the same time. I give it, but I take it too. It's, that sounded bad. But no, I mean, some of these bosses, man, at the time when I was playing the game, I couldn't sit there and well away on it like this guy. This guy's just like constantly keeping it like stun locked.
It landed in like almost half the time that Title Update 1 for World did, by the way.
I love the way that
gap
weapon
between
looks.
Title Update 1 and 2 has been longer than usual, there's no denying that. But I think, compare it to Base Rise, right? And how clearly unfinished that game was. We're missing monsters, gameplay aspects. We literally had an unfinished story until 3.0, which was Title Update 2, by the way. We're not experiencing anything like that in Wilds. We're just not. It feels like people expect unlimited.
Although the story was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it because it was my first time through. But now that I think about it, it was kind of little, man, it wasn't good. And that little kid was annoying as fuck. That's all I'm saying.
Content, the kind of feeling you experience with your first Monster Hunter game ever. I think the amount of people who played World for the first Monster Hunter game was certainly huge. And with that, you'll never experience what it is to learn Monster Hunter for the first time ever again. If you did, you'd have a lot more potential here with types of approaches. At this point, you've learned the core of every monster type, type of quest, the formula of title updates themselves.
This was our first Monster Hunter game, and it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, it was fun. We enjoyed playing it, and we put quite a bit of hours into this game.
You've learned the core of every weapon you're interested in. If you've done all that, it's completely unreasonable to expect it to happen again now Wilds is released. I don't know, man. It feels like there's this group of people that maybe enjoyed Wilds for a certain period of time, but now, there's not enough for them to sink their teeth into. That is fine. That's where I'm at right now.
You have that with any game, and that's perfectly fine. The thing is, you should not go back and rate a game as negative just because you don't feel like it's got enough content. If you enjoyed it for what it is, you can rate it as a good game, but you can also state that you wish it had more content. You can, the problem with Steam is it's either a thumbs up or thumbs down. A lot of times there's no middle ground there. You can't do like a meh or okay, but I mean, I think they need a couple more options so that people say, look, it was fun and it was good, but this is what I prefer. Because if the developers only see a thumbs up, that's all they're going to see. They may not read your post if you gave it a thumbs up, because they may not expect constructive criticism in a thumbs up post. So people are kind of forced to do a thumbs down.
Now, I don't play it every day currently. I'm waiting for Title Update 2. I don't really expect anything more than that. The sentiment that the game is like half finished and half the content in it is insane to me. I can understand that the devs plan this or that right, maybe for the expansions or maybe title updates, but that whole side of things, the complaining around that, reeks of leaks and data mining, which is off.
But look, this isn't a live service game from my understanding of how live service games are dictate or describe. Oh, look, this isn't a live service game. This is a game you play, you beat, you put down, and you come back to it when they release new content. That's how the game is designed. So, it's fine if you put it down and you go play another game. This is not an MMO. It's not a live service game. You should not be playing this game all day, every day, like if it was World of Warcraft. You shouldn't.
often misunderstanding information and claiming things as cut content. It was Jono himself, one of our community managers, who tweeted in response to this about pushing false narratives when something is perceived as cut content or intentionally pushed back. Then this idea becomes accepted as fact. Even if it's not true, it happens really quick and is spread as if it was true.
Oh yeah, the lie travels around the world, but then when you apologize, it gets nowhere near as far. Whatever that saying is. It's like when newspapers spread a lie on the front page, but then when they have to retract it or apologize, it's a small little apology, 15 pages deep into a newspaper, right? That's how this works.
True. And that just sucks. It must be exhausting for the team to see stuff like that, especially commonly as we're in this weird time right now. But all of that is beneath how gross it is when people actually attack people like Jono, or the community managers, or the team in general. It's fine if you didn't like Wilds, but attacking the team for it is unacceptable. So yeah, overall, I believe Wilds definitely doesn't deserve this 18% positive review Steam situation. Some people definitely need a reality check. Like, if you've played this game for hundreds of hours and you've enjoyed yourself, it's okay to not play more while we're between updates.
Yes, go play other games. There's a lot of good games out. There really is. I've been playing a lot of good games. I've been going back and playing a lot of good old games.
On the other hand, the performance issues are very real, and the recent shader situation really was a big step back. As I said, the only way to make the team really aware of that would be, the recent negative reviews, and to stop playing. With Steam,
like I said, most of this, look, like I said, all these negative reviews, the fact that it's overwhelmingly negative, I think he said before it doesn't deserve it. I've seen Rurikon mention it doesn't deserve it, but I'm like, look, if people are having issues playing your game, then it deserves it. This is the form and not product, but the platform that customers or consumers or gamers have to provide feedback. And most people on a dev team, I'm sorry, like I mentioned earlier, won't pay attention to your thumbs up. You have to give it a thumbs down. And hopefully you're providing some sort of constructive feedback. But if your game isn't running well for a lot of people, why would they not give it a negative review and provide that feedback? I think this massively shift towards a mostly negative game or negative reviewed game seems to be warranted. They need to fix their shit. And then hopefully people go back and change their views, or they update with a new one. So we'll have to see. I put this guy's video in the description. Go check him out. I like his videos, Rage Gaming videos over on YouTube. So over here on X, Rurikon, who I mentioned before, love his channel. It's a good gamer. The game absolutely does not deserve this rating. And he posted a picture of mixed, overwhelmingly negative. He goes on to say, I hope Capcom addresses everyone's concerns and you'll be able to enjoy the game as much as I do. Until then, I wish you all the best. I'll be streaming the showcase on Thursday. Have a nice, okay. So let's see what people had to say about this real quick. Post engagement. Let's look at quotes. Game runs like shit. He has a 7700X and a 9070. I don't know how good those are. And I'm barely able to break 70 to 80 frames per second. Still, 70 80 is not bad. Released so unfinished, and it didn't have a gathering hub. See, okay. This guy, he's stuck on things that have nothing to do with really the performance. I mean, he's running 70 80 frames per second. I mean, come on. That's not bad, right? That's not bad. Gamers have the right to be pissed at a game that runs like shit. Stop bootlicking devs who suck at their jobs. They're right. Gamers do have a right to be pissed if the game runs like shit for them. That's you can't get any more simple than that. A lot of people think that the reviews are about the content update and it being a horrible game. It is a fantastic game. If you can play it on PC, shit's heavily unoptimized and deserves all the negative reviews it gets. And see, this is what I was saying earlier. I think the fact that it's been unoptimized since it came out and people have always had issues running it on their older PCs, I think that laid the groundwork. And I think they've done nothing but add to that, to the point now people are just fucking pissed off. They're throwing the table over. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater at this point. And they're doing that by leaving all these negative reviews on Steam. And I can't blame them. Look, there's certain games I love. Like if Stellar Blade came out with a sequel, or if Nier Automata came out with the sequel or a new game, or if the new Gears of War game comes out, and I can't play it on my computer, yeah, I'd be pissed too. I would be. PC is much more the preferred way to play a game because of the freedom it gives me. That one, I don't have to move a console into my office if I want to stream it. I can stream directly from my computer. But I mean, I'd be pissed. I can understand if people are mad that they can't play the game on the computer. That I've heard that since day one. Look, the fire was already there. It was smoldering. All you did was pour gasoline on top of it with that new patch. I live and breathe Monster Hunter. This game was my most anticipated game in years with my $1,400 PC. Oh, okay. I do not meet the $1,400 is kind of like middle ground. I mean, you can find it for like $900 now. So I'm kind of surprised. He does not meet the minimum requirements to play it, and people who do meet them several times over can't run it consistently. We want to be fucking heard. Fuck off. Like I said, okay, I can't speak to the new issues. I haven't played it since before they released that first water serpent, water dragon, whatever it was. I can't remember the name of the damn dragon. It dropped in early April. So I'm downloading it. I've got to see where it's at. 80% complete. Okay, I'm gonna have to try it and see if I run into the same issues that Rage Gaming Videos ran into. But that's all I got for you today, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Are you running into the same issues that Rage Gaming Video addressed in his video? Boot time, frame rate, stuttering. I mean, 5 to 10 minutes to boot the game up. Did you guys really run into that? Let me know what you think down below in the comments of what you think Capcom should do to fix this, and what will happen if they don't. Are they going to pay a price for it with their next Monster Hunter game? Is this going to hurt them from a reputational standpoint? If you like the video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will talk to you guys next time.